Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on the Winter's Tale and we get to hear from Polixenes in Act 4, Scene 2. And the fact that we get to hear from Polixenes means we are in Bohemia. If you remember, he fled with the help of Camillo because Camillo was told to poison Polixenes but didn't want to. So Camillo let Polixenes know that Leontes wanted him poisoned, and the two of them escaped and they went back to Bohemia. So we are now in Bohemia, and as time told us yesterday, 16 years have passed since Hermione was on trial and died, and Mamillius died, and Antigonus was exited, pursued by a bear, and since Antigonus left the baby Perdita, since the shepherd and his son the clown found Perdita and a bag of gold in the middle of nowhere and decided that they would take care of her. So 16 years have passed. We are in Bohemia, and we're hanging out at the moment with Polixenes and Camillo. They've stayed in touch and stayed in service because that was one of Camillo's things. He was like, I'll help you escape if you employ me once we get out of here, because the fact that I've told you that you're supposed to be poisoned means I'm probably going to get fired and or killed by Leontes, the king who told me to poison you. So Polixenes and Camillo are hanging out, and Camillo starts off the scene, or actually Polixenes starts off the scene. He's like, stop asking for that. And Camillo's like, no, but it's been 16 years since I've seen my homeland, and I appreciate that you've given me a job here and everything like that, but I would like to be buried in Sicilia because that's my home. And also, like, maybe Leontes is, like, word has gotten out that Leontes is penitent now, so maybe if I go back I'll be able to offer him some comfort in regard to the loss of his wife and children. And Polixenes says, as thou lovest me, Camillo, wipe not out the rest of thy services by leaving me now. The need I have of thee, thine own goodness hath made. Better not to have had thee than thus to want thee, thou having made me businesses, which none without thee can sufficiently manage. Must either stay to execute them thyself, or take away with thee the very services thou hast done. Which, if I have not enough considered, as too much I cannot, to be more thankful to thee shall be my study, and my profit therein the heaping friendships. Of that fatal country Sicilia, prithee speak no more, whose very naming punishes me with the remembrance of that penitent, as thou callest him, and reconciled king, my brother, whose loss of his most precious queen and children are even now to be afresh lamented. Say to me, when sawest thou the Prince Florizel, my son? Kings are no less unhappy, their issue not being gracious, than they are in losing them when they have approved their virtues. So he hits on a couple big points here. He's like, Camillo, you have ingrained yourself so far into my kingdom that if you leave, I'm screwed. Like you've built all of these businesses, you do so many things that I am going to be completely and totally lost without you, and may not, it's not even worth it to have these things and these businesses and these connections and stuff like that if you're not here to manage them. So like how he's like, have I not thanked you enough? Because I will spend all of my time learning how to thank you sufficiently for what it is that you do for me. And also, by the way, please don't talk about Sicilia anymore, the country of Sicilia, because it makes me sad that I lost my friend Leontes, and it like brings back all of the grief of the loss of Hermione and Mamillius and the baby. So he's like, let's not even talk of that place anymore. And then he switches topics and says, have you seen where my kid is? Have you seen Prince Florizel lately? And Camillo's like, I haven't seen him in about 3 days. But between the two of them, they've heard rumors that there's this shepherd who magically became very rich 16 years ago. Wonder who and what that was all about. And that Florizel is oftentimes found hanging around the shepherd's house, and that maybe this shepherd has a daughter, and they're kind of afraid that Florizel might be hanging around the shepherd's house because of the daughter. So Camillo and Polixenes decide that they should disguise themselves so they can go spy on the shepherd's house and try to find out why Florizel is spending so much time there. And they decide that's a good plan, and that's the end of Act 4, Scene 2. So, hooray! We've gone from, I told you, Act 4 feels like it's a different world. Acts 1, 2, and 3, we have, denial and betrayal and these crazy fantasies, crazy imagined wrongs that weren't actually committed by anybody. And now we're like, hey, let's dress up like strangers and go spy on my kid to see if he's got a crush. Hang in there. It'll all make sense. It will come back together. And I'll see you tomorrow for more. Mwah.